Ernest Shackleton was born on February 15th, 1874, in London. As a young man, he joined the Navy and traveled immensely. In 1901, he set sail on a voyage to the South Pole with Robert Falcon Scott, where he fell ill and they had to return from their trip early. In 1907, he had another failed attempt to reach the South Pole. In 1911, Ronald Amundsen, a Norwegian man, reached the South Pole, changing Shackleton's dream to crossing Antarctica via the South Pole. On August 1st, 1914, him and his crew aborted the Endurance for their third trip to the South Pole. They reached South Georgia, and this was the last time they touched land for 467 days. In January 1915, they became trapped in the ice, so the crew and Shackleton camped out on the ice. Unfortunately, the worst was yet to come. The Endurance sank. After this, Shackleton led the team by taking 3 small boats to Elephant Island, which was uninhabited, so they knew there was no chance of rescue. He and 5 crew members decided to get on a lifeboat to South Georgia, which took 16 days, and they hiked the tough terrain to a whaling station in order to safely return the men from Elephant Island. In August 1916, Shackleton returned to Elephant Island to rescue his men, and amazingly, all of his men had survived the trip. Once he returned from the trip to the South Pole, he published the book South, and he had a new goal to circumnavigate the Antarctic. Unfortunately, while on that trip, he died from a heart attack on January 5th, 1922. After his death, he was known as the pinnacle of leadership and heroism. He was such a good leader because he was able to connect with people, and his dreams motivated and influenced people because he was so excited and promoted that energy into them. He is an authentic leader because he was a servant to his men, and while keeping everything on track. He cared more about the welfare of his men above everything else. That showed when all of his men returned home from the trip on the Endurance. Anything that he didn't feel comfortable doing, he wouldn't ask of his team, and he trusted his men, and only his main goal was to safely return all of his men from his trip.
For the second part, some key points I did like on the Shackleton's actual information is a quote I read. When disaster strikes and all hope is gone, get down on your knees and pray for Shackleton. Sir Raymond Priestley. It kind of goes to show who Shackleton truly was. A person that led his team, not because they were his employees, but because of pure trust and connection with them. A leader needs a high attitude and a mindset, and must be surrounded by individuals who will listen and be able to adapt to current situations. This is perfectly true for his sailors. During the time of the voyage on the Endurance, they did not think, they'll get stuck on ice and have to stay off of land for so long. But in reality, it did happen, and it was probably, realistically, it looked like they were going to die out there, but they still managed to survive. And how does that connect? Well, optimism, If one person on your team does not believe that everything's going to go according to the plan, then you're doomed from the start. A leader must be willing to put the welfare of his people above his own. That's exceptionally true for Shackleton. Even though there was times when he could have just said, we're doing this, he still did not want to. He still thought about his people before his own life. Shackleton is a great leader in terms of caring for his people. He's more of a giver than a taker, which is what leaders in today's world should be. Finally, sadly, in today's modern world, there's not many leaders who are left that can be compared to Shackleton. And unless we find a true way to connect them all together, realistically, there never will be. Thank you.
So our group was able to form a quick and effective team in a short amount of time by creating times to meet up and create strategic plans for our group to complete our goals. So our group first had contact when Jose messaged us through the university email, and after that we quickly made a group text message to quickly communicate with each other. So on last class on February 23rd, we communicated that we would meet up as a group after the class in the O'Connor building. And for the first 15 minutes of us meeting, we really just talked to each other. We didn't even talk about specifics about the group assignment, which ultimately was a really good team building exercise. So in Carnegie, when it talks about uh, Smile, Reign with Names in part two, chapter three, that we had a class discussion in, we talked about the importance of knowing people's names and getting to know them in order to effectively communicate and create a strategic plan with people in a team that you are working with. So that's why this unplanned encounter of just talking amongst each other, learning about each other's lives, our names, where we work, and other classes we're in, really was the first step in creating a effective team and build and framework for our teams to succeed in. We then decided that we would meet up and finish this by a certain date. We created due dates for each part of our sections. That way we knew exactly when everyone would be finished. And we also took advantage of using a Google Doc where everyone can work at the same time and see other people's work so we're not making mistakes or double repeating ourselves inside Google Docs or other assignments. And that's how we were very effective in completing this assignment. A big struggle we did have, though, was getting time where we can all meet. We all have very busy schedules. So, a time, for example, that we decided to do our video was 9 a.m. on a Friday. Very unorthodox time for, I would say, kids our age to complete projects, but we figured out a time that worked best for everyone, and then we were able to achieve and complete our goal of completing this project and overcome these difficulties of scheduling, not being able to be together the entire time by using a Google Doc so we can see what the other people are working on. And that's how our team was able to overcome these challenges to complete this project. Thank you.
Throughout this assignment, we faced many obstacles, one of them being coronavirus, and along with the freeze that we all face. Through that, our team had to adapt to the situation. Three of us working in retail really hindered our time to get together. Just like Shackleton, he faced obstacles, but he was able to overcome them, be adaptable, be a flexible leader. And throughout this ordeal, all our team members were flexible in being able to meet with each other, recognizing each other's schedules. Jose began our project by reaching out to each and every one of us. He was an effective communicator. In doing so, we were able to complete this project in a timely manner. Carter was a fantastic asset to our team. He was able to develop clear and precise vision on what he wanted for our project. And Brycelyn was able to connect with each and every one of us to ensure that whatever we may do and what we may have done was okay, whether it be mistakes. So regardless of our strengths and weaknesses throughout this assignment, we were able to adapt and overcome to achieve a successful project. Um, as a team, we were able to overcome the ordeals and challenges we faced on getting together as a team to accomplish the same goal. Just like Shackleton did, we had to have great leadership skills, be able to adapt, be flexible in our assignment to make it a great one, be successful. Thank you.
Mars portion one. The selection process was created. What we thought after meeting up was merits and critical thinking. There's no handbook that's going to be, you're going to do this, this, and this when you arrive on Mars. There's going to be objectives and goals that you're going to try to achieve. But similar to Shackleton, this is unmarked territory. There's no handbook, there is no set of rules that you're going to have to follow to complete these goals. So we think that selecting candidates off merits is very important, but also the way they critically think, because everything's going to be new, and how they work together as a team are going to be the most important factors in selecting who would go on this Mars mission. So a final portion of this training or selection process would be, after we select 8 people, we would test them in team abilities to critically think, solve problems, and be effective as a team to complete their goals on inside Mars. So this is what we believe would be achievable for our group. Thank you.
Thank you, Carter. To finish off, we would like to mention the second part of the Mars One project, where we compare both Shackleton and the 18 members aboard the Mars trip. So what exactly do they need to succeed? Well, for us, the most important parts are trust, strong-minded individual, and adaptable. First of all, above that ship on the way to Mars, you must be able to trust your coworkers, as they are now your family. These are the people you're going to be living with for the rest of your life aboard that ship and hopefully on Mars. Second, you must understand this is a one-way trip. There is no do-overs. There is no coming back to restart. If this mission fails, then sadly, nobody's going to help you. You're on your own. And finally, you must be able to adapt to stressful situations. For us, our stressful situations might be going to work and having to deal with a coworker that you don't like or other stuff. But for them, it's literally life and death. They must understand that they may hit problems never before seen in human history, and yet they must understand that they will be in charge of figuring that out. So, bringing it back to Earth, how can we compare it to Shackleton and his crew on the Endurance? First of all, trust. Just like I mentioned, aboard that spaceship, it's the same thing here on Earth. They have to navigate over to the Antarctic area. They need to trust each other. Without that trust, they will not work as a team. Shackleton understands this and is willing to get to know his people and convince them to go with him. Second, of course, this is not a one-way trip. Hopefully your team will return, but you need to be a strong-minded individual. As its advertisement said, we want strong people who may understand that a safe travel may not be guaranteed. And the reason he wants this is because he wants his team to understand that if they do not come back, you know what? They're all motivated and will all continue with the goal. Lastly, adaptable. They must be able to understand that there will be stressful situations. Of course, we know they got stuck on the ice and they had to abandon their ship. But still, they must be able to communicate efficiently and be able to help each other in times of those great needs. We want to thank you for watching our video and hope y'all have a great rest of your day. Thank you.